Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode number 7 of the StokedOnPlants podcast. I am your host, Paul Castro Jr. What's going on, everybody? It's been a minute. It's been a minute since I've hopped on the airwaves of the podcasting world. Last week I fortunately got to sit down with my good friend and director, Guy Guido. And then normally, like I said, I've been doing 2 of these a week. And last week I did 1. So I failed you all. I only did 1. But it's because, it was Thanksgiving and everything, and had some work going on. But I'm going to be trying to get back to the 2 a week, which brings me to this next part, starting off the show, letting you all know who's going to be coming on in the remainder of December. So we've got, and I've told you guys this, but again, I think it's the next one up is the chocolate vegan. And then we've got who is a fruitarian health fitness guy. Very excited to have him on the show. Meg Josephson, another Instagram personality, does a ton of food, yoga, mindfulness, meditation, wonderful stuff. Vegan Eats NYC, Crystal Pang, I believe is her last name, will be on after that. And then I wrap up the year, I believe, with How to Be Vegan in the Hood. And if you haven't seen his NPR article recently about his whole venture into veganism, check that out on NPR, How to Be Vegan in the Hood. He'll be joining us later in the month. Lastly, if you haven't gone over to www.StokedOnPlants.com, do that right now. I'll wait. Oh, so you have to do something when you're there too. So when you click on the site, inevitably a pop-up will come that says register your email address. Please do that so that more than my mom and myself get these newsletters. Thank you for those of you who are on there who have signed up. Really appreciate it. Makes making those newsletters, which take a ton of time, worth the venture. So register your email address. You can do it to your burner email address, which you sign up for all that junk stuff. That's fine. Just add yourself there, and then you can get everything sent right to your email address when everything comes out and it goes live. Very cool. Enough of that jargon. So today I'm talking about a very, very important subject, and I warn you guys now. This is going to be one of the more preachy, gruesome, grotesque podcasts that I've done yet. I know I've said I don't want to push a lot of kind of the negative side of things, but we've got Christmas coming up, and I think this is a great opportunity to talk about something that means a lot to me. I think is a very hot topic right now. Not this clothing store in which I get the majority of my clothes and accessories and toys, such as this Mario Kart remote control car. Actually, my mom got me that. It's super cool and fun. And my Mario hat. Got a nice little Mario beanie that my sister got me. I love Mario, and I'll talk a little bit about Mario before the end of the episode here. But to stay the course, we're going to be talking about Canada Goose. If you don't know what Canada Goose is, it's not just the animal that lives in Canada. It's actually a widely popular jacket, clothing brand that you see everyone wearing, especially in New York City and places that are cold, because it is bitter here. My goodness, I cannot stand New York City in the winter, and you want to have a jacket that keeps you warm. And Canada Goose does that phenomenally. It actually is a very warm jacket. So what's the problem with it? Well, they make their jackets out of the feathers of geese and goose, ducks, and they have their signature hood. Like they've got that, the fur hood from coyotes is how they create that. And some of you might saying, so what's the problem with that? And there's a lot of problems with it, right? And I'm here to tell you guys to stop buying Canada Goose. Stop it. Just stop it. And we'll break that down here. And obviously, in doing that, there's going to be some discussions of animal cruelty and all that stuff that's involved there. We'll get there as we go. Yeah. Don't normally like to bring up the grim side of this veganism world and stay the course, but I just think this is important. So Canada Goose, right? How did this get so popular? Well, like I said, it gets bitter in places, and you want a jacket that keeps you warm. And the down feathers and fur, there's a reason why people have not died throughout history, because they've worn the skin and fur and feathers of animals. Going back to caveman times, how do you think people survived wearing those, essentially diapers of clothing, no shirts, no pants, no shoes? It was through the actual, skinning of animals. So it made sense back then. But today, in this, in year 2018, we've got a ton of stuff that allow us to not need to do that, right? We don't need to kill animals for clothing. And man, this is just going to be such a comprehensive podcast because there's so many different things and ideologies and things that are actually bad for the environment, good for the environment. Oh my God, we're gonna break this down, hopefully as efficiently as possible. But let's just go down to Canada Goose's methods here first, right? So Canada Goose, right? They're making these really efficient jackets. And to do so, the primary thing that people talk about, and there was recently in New York City, they had a protest on Black Friday against the Canada Goose store where, hundreds of people lined up to get a deal on the Canada Goose jackets, and protesters were there letting people know how messed up Canada Goose is. But it didn't deter many people from still going in there and getting that deal, getting that Black Friday deal that everybody wants to get so badly. So what do they do to get these jackets, right? Got to kill the coyotes. How do they do that? They do it primarily by trapping. And you'd think that, okay, so how does Canada Goose coordinate this whole thing? Do they have their own operation where they're actually doing it themselves? They hire these people? Well, no, because Canada Goose, let's read it actually. I pulled it up earlier. They have some pretty high standards and transparency. They want to be extremely transparent. So let's give them a benefit of the doubt here. Canada Goose is our commitment to support the ethical sourcing and responsible use of down used in our products. Suppliers are required to certify that our down comes as a byproduct of the poultry industry and has not come from live, plucked, or force-fed birds. Okay, so they're not going out killing extra ducks or geese to get these feathers. It's coming from the poultry industry that, we eat the meat or it's used for food in some capacity, and then they give us the feathers. Seems all natural, right? We'll break this down. So that's how they get that. But the fur, no matter where they're worn, many of our products are designed and built to protect against the elements in the coldest places on Earth. Places where exposed skin can freeze in an instant. Wow, we care so much. In these environments, we believe that fur is the best choice. Having fur trimmed around the jacket hood disrupts airflow, which helps protect the face from frostbite. Where we know that fur, this isn't where it is. Where does it talk about how they get the fur? The first standard is our commitment to support the ethical sourcing and responsible use of real wild fur. The program mandates that all fur is sourced by Canada Gooses in accordance with the agreement, international blah, blah, blah. So they keep up the standards in the U.S. and Canada. They also require that the fur in North America suppliers is never used from fur farms or endangered species. Okay. And it's through, they don't say it here, but they get their fur through auctions, right? So fur trappers who are licensed to do this stuff and are supposedly licensed or regulated to do it by certain standards, that's how they get the fur. Well, let's get into this. One of the biggest fighters against the fur trade industry has been PETA. PETA's got controversy for whatever it is, but let's stick to the positive parts of it. I actually don't mind PETA. I think they do great things and they spread great awareness for all the problems that are existing in the non-vegan world. So, trappers, right? How do they catch the coyotes? Well, they do it by using traps primarily. They use steel traps. They say that they use rubber ones, but there's people out there and there's videos of it in wide aplenty of these coyotes in tremendous amount of pain in these ankle traps, basically left out there. Let's read. This comes from PETA's website itself, so whatever. Take that for what it is. I think it's a wonderful source for explaining how these coyotes die after they've been trapped in these ankle traps, steel ankle traps. They can die from the result of blood loss, shock, dehydration, frostbite, gangrene, or attacks from predators. So essentially, these trappers go out there, they leave the traps there. Coyote comes in, gets caught, and is basically left there to die from one of these methods. So they're so worried about, how these humans are going to stay warm and be, taken care of. We don't really care about these coyotes. It's just let's skin them for their fur because we want to look a certain way. And ultimately, what Canada Goose comes down to is people will decide to buy these jackets because they want the aesthetic of it. Because if we're going to complain and we're going to argue that it's only because it is the best possible jacket, you're wrong. There are tons and tons of companies who make jackets made from other materials, synthetic or polyester, or there's like these microfibers. Let's see what the actual, what's the name? Micro nylon here, or that's my Seinfeld theme song that is being active here for us while I scour the facts, because you know how people love, well, that's not a fact. Actually, factually, that's not true. I looked that up and you're wrong. So here we go. I found it. Tons of other faux fur, synthetics, animal-friendly products. There's the woolly outerwear. Patagonia makes a jacket. The Castro parka by Vought. And here we go. North Face. They've developed a synthetic fur. It's the thermal ball hoodie by North Face. Very popular. And they use thermal ball is synthetic alternative to down. It clusters and traps and retains heat in small air pockets, provide the insulation. It's ultra light. It's a really good jacket. I've seen nothing but great reviews. You go to their website, it's a 5-star review jacket, right? So there's tons of other, and why don't we just read the other ones here while we're at it. Save the Duck, another great company. They've saved like 3 million ducks by the it's SaveTheDuckUSA.com. They make everything. Jackets for men, women, like the long ones that go down to your toesies. And they make also like long johns, the vest type of jackets. Check out SaveTheDuckUSA.com. Wonderful company with a great message. They also make sweatshirts. And they look pretty awesome too. And they're not insanely expensive. I mean, how much? I'm actually curious about this. How much does a Canada Goose jacket cost? Canada. Blame Canada. Blame Canada. Man, has there been a good South Park season yet in like the last few years? My goodness, man. I know they're doing a ton of stuff, but we got to really have a higher stand. And you know what it is? They're doing a lot of political stuff. So the majority of their episodes are just... All right, here. Yeah, a lot of the South Park's episodes are politically relevant, so they have a message that they're trying to make more so than just make comedy. So let's look here. Canada Goose. These jackets cost $1,200. Canada Goose jackets cost $1,200, and people are trying to say that this is like the only option for staying warm. You're out of your mind. All right? You're out of your mind. That's it. Let's pull up one of these other jackets. Save the Ducks jackets. Their most expensive one is $600. They make the affordable ones, which are like anywhere from $100. This one right here is $218, $498. Their most expensive jacket is $500. And I'm telling you, look at the reviews at this. Save the Duck, all 5-star reviews, all different colors, shapes, and sizes. And their message is just so wonderful. It's all with the intention of saving, animals and preventing, the exploitation of these ducks, which have, has pretty much been the case. Go to their website. You can read their history. 3 million ducks in 2017. What a great company. So, yeah, to say that, it's number one, you've got to be rich to have one of these jackets, right? And I'll also talk about what you should do if you have one already. But so let's go back to the way that they attain this stuff. Through the capture of these coyotes who are left to starve. And, the terrible thing, too, is that it's not just like they're out there. Not that this makes it any better, because there's no such, humane or ethical way to hunt. I have my own views on hunting, and I don't want to really make this a hunting episode, but I just believe that nowadays we don't need to hunt. It is sport. And if you only get pleasure from killing another living being species, then I think you need a hug. You need a nice big warm hug. You need some love, because why do we need to, like, it's a very masculine thing, but I know there's women who hunt too, and why do we need to expose or exploit our dominance over these animals who are defenseless? I just really don't get it. It's not for me. I know fishing is in the same vein too, but I think ultimately fishing, I don't want to say it's not less bad, but if we're talking about the way that animals express or experience love from an intelligence standpoint, I believe fish are less intelligent, less understanding of pain. Not that they don't feel pain, less understanding of pain than most mammals. Pigs or cows, that they experience and express the pain in a less volatile way. It's less. People can put that out of sight, out of mind, much more easy. Not that I think that it's any less. I'm just saying there's from a converting people to veganism standpoint, it's a lot easier to viscerally see a cow or pig or duck, any of these animals, in pain, and have that be a trigger for you to say, I don't want to contribute to the animal cruelty any more than a fish. Fish can't, for the most part, talk or express. They don't have a language that we can hear. I think there's some fish that make noise, but majority of them don't. It's just, the flapping and the... Anyway, so these coyotes are left out. Most of them are they actually try to tear their own legs off, eat through their own flesh and bone to get out of these traps. It's truly terrible. You can watch some of these videos of these trappers just basically mocking these coyotes that they've caught and then ultimately shooting them in the head. And some, they don't die instantly, and some they do, but it's, at the end of the day, there's no humane slaughter. There's not. These animals want to live. They thrive to live. And don't worry, I'm going to talk about the flip side here for all you non-vegans who are like, what about the crops? See, I don't mean to mock you guys. I don't. I'm more or less mocking the people who only want to fight. I want to be here and have a debate, and talk about this stuff and why I think that you shouldn't do it. So you look at the meaning of, oh yeah, but a majority of these coyotes, they're expanding. They're actually taking up more territory. They're hurting farmers' livestock. They're actually killing cows. They're abducting dogs and cats, and they're stealing them from people's homes. They're killing babies. By and large, that's not the case. Like, statistically, while they are, they do pose threats to farmers' livestock, but if you're a vegan, I mean, I think it's clear what your message should be, that you shouldn't really, let's eliminate livestock in general, but let's say, functioning society, this still exists. I'm going to stop wearing Canada Goose, but I'm going to still keep eating meat. All right, you pose a point there. But on the other side of that is that no matter what, that's the animal kingdom. That's survival of the fittest. That's the ecosystem of, the circle of life, as they wonderfully put it in The Lion King. That is the circle of life, and we don't need to contribute to that. We have the skills and intelligence to not have to eat animals, exploit them for their their fur, for their organs, their meat, in order to survive. We can do that by tons of other ways. we have the technology to clone DNA of animals and make meat in that way. So, with great power comes great responsibility, as a great Uncle Ben once said in Spider-Man. So we don't need to kill and exploit these animals, take their fur, trap these animals, and unfortunately a majority of these fur hunters are people who are in lower income areas, and there's less, and this is a infrastructure problem. The education is of a lesser quality, and they're not informed. Sometimes they come from harder family lives, and the way that these people find pleasure in the torture of these animals, it can be from a majority of different ways. I mean, there's I don't want to speak on behalf of like infrastructure and why people become a certain way, but I can definitely say that in these areas where it's lower income, there's not much to do. People will find any way to find pleasure. It's often from a depression, and imposing your authority on another being can help validate you from a psychological standpoint of giving you purpose and reason. But it's a very complex issue for why this is. But again, they use these fur auctioneers, these traders, who they're not being monitored in the way that you think. Just because something is certified or it's regulated, you don't know what that means. You don't know, and I wanted to talk about this too. It's like, and I'll get into it, but you don't know where any of your clothing is being made. You don't know specifically, or your food. You don't know exactly that piece of, just because it came from X farm or X place, you don't know. You did not see the process and the lifeline of that animal to where it's now either on your plate or on your body. So it's too hard to say. And there are people, you see it all the time in these factory farms of animals, where there's people kicking and punching and exploiting these animals all the time. Just look online. Follow any of these Facebook groups, Mercy for Animals, Earthling Ed. They share all this wonderful information. Just go to PETA and look up their Canada Goose. And I know some people get turned off by that, but it's right there. This happens. And while you might say, well, that's just an individual circumstance, it's not. There's tons of videos, and they have a montage version one where you see these coyotes writhing in pain, trying to run away, and these people filming it. Why? What other reason are they shooting with their phone? Why are they capturing them killing these animals if not for the sadistic pleasure of it? This is not like people from PETA or from just normal hunters that are saying yeah, I want to expose this industry, so I'm going to do my test of how it happens. I'm going to go undercover and kill this coyote. No, these are people who are sharing it by their own will, and they don't see the problem in it. So they're getting it from these fur trappers, these auctioneers. You don't really know where it's coming from, what has happened to these animals, whether they're, torturing them. Majority of these animals are dying in extreme pain. Like I said, through, shock, frostbite, gangrene, getting mauled by other animals and can't even defend themselves, really just disrupting the circle of life. It's just terrible. It's really the blood's on your hands when you contribute to companies like this. And now you might be saying, Paul, well, why is it just Canada Goose? What about all the other companies? Well, there are a lot of other companies, and Canada Goose is just the one fight that I'm picking right now. Just like with the people who complain about vegans saying well, what about humans? What about these people starving in third world countries? Sure, you can fight for more than one cause, but the fight that we're picking right now is this one. And you can help contribute to the other ones, but you can't take away from an argument just because other arguments exist, right? So, and that's the other thing I wanted to talk about was clothing in general, right? Some people might be saying, well, it's not just Canada Goose. Even people who buy denim or wool or whatever it is, there's whether it's through the exploitation of animals or through the impacts that it has on the environment. There are so many different things going on, and you have to pick and choose battles at certain points in time. Even with denim specifically, I wore this denim jacket by Levi's because denim is one of those things from a consumption of land and from the resources of water. It's destroying the environment the way that we're mass producing clothes and denim. And it's some people just get overwhelmed. It's what am I supposed to do? Every single thing, it seems like, has an impact on the environment. And kind of in some capacity, you can find things that are like majority of things are impacting the environment in a negative way. And now we need to kind of reinvent how we've done the majority of our sourcing of clothing and food to find ethical ways that don't hurt the environment and don't hurt animals. So Levi's, for example, they've done things where they're using recycled plastic to make their clothing. I pulled up the article because I want to get so specifically on what they do. Boom, 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 boom. I just need to get like I'm gonna throw this over what I do. I'm gonna throw that song, that thong, the thong. Like I wanna be go, let it get a booty ho. I don't even know the words to that, but Cisco, man, you gotta come back with a CD. Man, where did I put this stuff? I'm so sorry, guys. But isn't it fun to hear me sing like that? Here it is. Denim's impact. Jeans are traditionally made from cotton, so you think that's fine overall. 2.4% of the world's cropland and 24% of its insecticides. So there's tons. We're destroying the environment by using pesticides, insecticides, to keep the crops, from being destroyed. So there is a negative impact there. But here are the wonderful different ways a company like Levi's does, or green jeans, not just Levi's, but Levi's, for example, they make jeans from incorporate polyester fibers spun from discarded plastic bottles. So if you're saying to yourself now, the whole point of this is, well, I'm doing bad things. There's ways to change it. The way that jeans can do it is you can use upcycled jeans broken down from reused. You can use other jeans that are broken down to create new materials from them. Upcycled is when you use old jeans to break down and reuse as insulation in new home construction. There's another company which offers rental jeans as a down payment and a low monthly fee. So I guess you can just rent jeans and then give them back. Buy organic jeans that don't use the pesticides or insecticides. Again, Levi's use recycled jeans or compostable or compostable. Freytag is a company's created jeans made of linen and hemp that fully compost within months. So that's pretty cool. And there's tons of materials that are cruelty-free, like I was saying, hemp, linen, from recycled plastic, cotton, and there's many, many more fabrics. Let's see, Seasol, Cap Coke. I don't even know what half of these are. Flax, jute, Rami. You get some hemp jeans. Or these are, just plant fibers in general in which you should be buying your clothes. And it's like, it seems so overwhelming for some people to, like, when you go vegan, it's not just about, like, full vegan. These are the purest vegans, straight arrow vegans here who it's not just about the food. It's about the clothing. It's about the ethics for the environment. It's about your contribution to society in terms of, not that it's ethical living, because you should also not contribute to companies who do things that have a negative impact on the environment and our greenhouse gases and the carbon footprint we're putting right now on the earth. So, what companies you buy your processed food from, but the majority of these full straight hour vegans aren't even buying processed food to begin with. Staying away from synthetic clothing, yet buying synthetic clothing that is an alternative to buying the animal version. That's like, these such moral dilemmas, and you have to figure out what can you do now, what can you eventually process into. But at the end of the day, it's like Canada Goose, the reason I picked the battle with them is because there's so much about them. They're insanely high priced. It exploits people for their dollars. You're paying $1,200 for a jacket that you can pay, half of that price and get the same product. But they've become so widely known and popular that people see them as like a social status icon, that I think we need to deconstruct this idea of labels in that sense. They just do. There's so much negative about the company, even though they try to say they're fully transparent. the amount of coyotes that are killed in these unethical ways, the geese that are like literally hung upside down for their blood to be drained from their entire bodies, that they get their, sometimes still alive, having their feathers plucked from them. It's just really terrible. It's a terrible industry, and we avoid it because we don't see it every day. But I guarantee you, if you went to Canada Goose's stores and you had to watch a video of how it's done, a majority of people would turn away from buying them. So what do I do? What do we do? We look at these other companies that have alternatives, and even like these synthetic ones. So at the end of the day, anything that's being man-made, synthetically made, is probably, I think it's actually classified as a carcinogen. So you're putting all these things on your body which aren't much better for you. So you have a moral dilemma. Do I hurt my body, or do I hurt the environment? Am I hurting, at the end of the day, I think that we get so much carcinogens put in ourselves. I mean, Starbucks is classified as a carcinogen in California, that I would opt for the synthetic one. But there's also other companies that are that aren't synthetic, that are made from hemp and cotton and all these other materials, and are organic. My God, this is what happens when I drink too much tea. So I would opt to go down the road of using one of these organic companies that makes clothing. Save a Duck is one of these other wonderful companies, like I said, and spend half the price and not contribute to the empire, which is Canada Goose. Unfortunately, or fortunately rather, there's not a lot of countries right now that ban fur altogether. I think in the United States, it's only 2 major cities in California that have passed fur bans. I think it's San Francisco and Hollywood, which is so crazy. We need to continue that fight for the ban on fur. It's you're making a choice to wear fur for that aesthetic reason. There's really no other choice, because I've already mentioned the alternatives to staying warm. And not just the fur, but I'm talking about it specifically for Canada Goose. I mean, like whale poaching is an entire thing, the way whales are used for their blubber, and the tons of other animals that are exploited for their fur, feathers, body parts they use for clothing. It's not just fur, but that's the fight we're talking about now. And we need to continue this fight. Props for, I think it was just this year, San Francisco in March finally got their ban on fur sales. And we got to reach out to these companies and tell them, we'll support you. Just don't exploit animals or exploit our dollars in this sense. And people say it's more expensive. I guarantee you right now, you can find a coat that's just the same way made as Canada Goose, and it's half the price, and you're literally paying for the emblem. So what else did I want to talk about here? So what if you own a Canada Goose jacket already, right? People, that's a big transitional thing for vegans. It's I own a ton of things that aren't ethically vegan. Like my couch, I'm sure, is not vegan. I'm sure there's clothes that I wear that aren't vegan. There's I don't know. There's probably a ton of things that aren't vegan in my apartment. And I think that depending on your financial situation, if you can eventually transition into donating those things and buying cruelty-free versions or the faux versions, that's obviously what I would recommend. But if you can't, what are things you can do? If you have a Canada Goose jacket, right, and you want to use it, you don't want it to go to waste, and you're not in a financial situation where you can, just give it away or buy another jacket, and you were lucky enough to somehow afford a Canada Goose jacket. But who knows? People have their lives change in different ways. Maybe you lost your job. Who knows? Whatever. My recommendation here, and this is pretty innovative, is you wear your Canada Goose jacket, but just change the logo. Buy a patch that maybe says against animal cruelty, right? And then some people might then it's a conversation starter. This is a Canada Goose jacket. I can't afford to get rid of it right now. I'm doing my part of the veganism movement here. I want to start a conversation with people. I know this is Canada Goose, but I'm actually against the cruelty that they've done. I was unaware and uneducated when I first bought this, but now I've understood, and now I'm helping that fight. Don't feel bad about owning one already. Just don't contribute anymore. Put another patch on there. Take theirs off. Put, whatever I said, the animal cruelty. See if you can trade with someone who's got another jacket. Start a Facebook group. I mean, I could do this, but I don't contribute to them. If I had a Canada Goose jacket, maybe I'd go online and Craigslist or Facebook forums, these vegan, just on my, hey, I have a Canada Goose jacket. Does anyone have a really good cruelty-free version that I can trade you for? Whatever. There's tons of things you can do to not put yourself in a worse off situation. Like I own a backpack. That's a leather backpack, which I still have. It means a lot to me because I used it in the film Eris that we made, and eventually I want to donate it, but it's kind of like a memento still. I have a pair of boots. My winter boots have leather on them, and I can't afford right now to go and buy like these other vegan versions because they're still very I mean, I'm sure there's a version that isn't as expensive. I haven't done my research. The ones that I really want are a little more expensive, but I'm going to wear these out until I can make those a priority to buy a new pair of boots. I have some other things that I'm trying to transition first. I've already done my jackets. I've gotten rid of my leather jackets. And a majority of the other things that I have. But I do have a pair of leather boots still. But, I think it's about, not making the animal's life go to waste either. I wouldn't just throw them away. Donate them if you can. Wear them and give that animal's life some use and some worth. But, yeah, man. If you watch some of these videos on what happens with these coyotes, it is truly terrible. It pulls at your heart, man. And I think a majority of people just don't see it. They don't want to see it. But I challenge all of you non-vegans who watch this to watch a video of these coyotes being killed in the way that they are to be sourced for Canada Goose. And I'd find it hard-pressed for a majority of you to not question whether or not you support that company. It's bad, man. It's really, really bad. It's so hard to see a lot of these people aren't informed. And this is the other thing. So many celebrities wear these clothings because they're expensive. And it's, again, that thing. I think there's like pictures online of like Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone and Kate Upton did a swimsuit one, Claire Danes. And they might just be uninformed or it just might not be on their priority list. But if you can reach out to some of these celebrities and say, hey, I know you wear Canada Goose and I just wanted to let you know that I'm a big fan of yours. It's, I'd love if you maybe would support something else. Then, I think having a lot of celebrities speak out about it would be a huge impact. And I think we all can do our part by when they have photos of them saying, hey, listen, I still love you. I just want to let you know about Canada Goose. And maybe, you should consider switching over to something else. We shouldn't attack these people. That's not a productive way. And attacking anyone doesn't help us spread the veganism message. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to help spread the good word. In a very positive, cool, fun way. Man, I know this was like a less enthusiastic episode, but I mean, it's a serious subject. It's a serious conversation. And I'm just sitting here looking through all these pages again. So like the one thing we talked about again, like the synthetic materials, it's like you have to make a choice on which fight you want to have, Like I said, these clothings are not bad for you. Are you going to sit and look at every piece of clothing that you have and throw away everyone that is number one, cruelty-free or synthetic or not cruelty-free and synthetic? No, it's just not realistic. But the bigger argument here is like, how far do we go? Do we research these companies and find out which ones of these are being, produced in third world countries and exploiting children? It can't just be about the animals. It's got to be everything. How is every little thing we get made? And it's hard to find that information. And it's one step at a time. So the more and more research you can do that makes sense for you and your lifestyle, then great. It's not all or nothing. Don't be discouraged if you haven't, you're not that pure ethical vegan, because that's not what veganism is about. It's about the least amount of harm we can do to animals, the environment, and humanity. Really, because we're all animals. Some of us are filthy animals. So for Christmas, if you need a jacket, look at some of these brands. I'll link some in the description of this podcast, and get a cruelty-free ethical jacket. Let's talk vegan news. That's what I've been wanting to do. This isn't vegan news, but it's Mario news, so I wanted to talk about it anyway. That And then I'm going to do a plant-based plate today. It's going to be a simple but fun one. The vegan news or Mario news rather is they're making a Mario theme park. It's a Nintendo theme park, I think, because there's a Hyrule world and there's like the Mario world and a bunch of other stuff that Nintendo owns the properties of, but they've begun construction on that, and I am super pumped about that. I think that's going to be cooler than Six Flags. I think that as a video game player, they should make an actual Blizzard world. In Overwatch, they have a game, but that would be, I think they have the properties now to do that, to make a Blizzard world, which would be so cool. But I'll settle for the Mario Nintendo world. I'm super excited about that. What were the other... Vegan Rugby Stars opens up about a plant-based cafe in his hometown. So it's cool to see all these different sports. I mean, I know there's football celebrities, there's baseball celebrities who are vegans, but rugby, which I guess is a fairly popular European sport, but there's now there's rugby players talking about veganism. I think every second we can get a vegan to or an athlete or celebrity, like I was saying, Drake did tremendous things for the veganism movement. It just helps us. So Anthony Mullally, who I have no idea who that is because I'm not a rugby fan, but he co-founded a vegan eatery, Vital Cafe, in Yorkshire, England. How cool is that? So we're spreading across the world here. There was also the other one where, if you haven't seen this video, man, I have to look up her name because this is actually something I didn't have ready for vegan news. Vegans argues with farmer. Earthling Ed posted this, and I saw that it was just a really cool video of her asking. Lucy Watson, she challenges a farmer over humane slaughter. A really, really good video to watch. Even a farmer would just be dumbfounded about, like, there's no such thing as humane slaughter. There really isn't. How do you humanely slaughter something? In the most compassionate way? What humane means compassion. How do you kill something and take its life in a humane, compassionate way? You can't. It's a contradiction within itself. And what else do we got here? Do you guys know who Tig Notaro is? Comedian, very popular. She had I met her at Sundance in 2014. She had, I think the documentary was called Tig, but she prioritizes, the article headline here is, prioritizes plants over politics. During an event to celebrate California's newly passed animal welfare legislation, the comedian urged that a plant-based diet is the single best step to take towards preventing animal cruelty. She's a really, really cool person and a funny comedian, wonderful human being, and I'm really glad that she spoke up about that stuff. The event was hosted by film producer James Costa at the Hollywood Hills home. The Cruelty-Free Cosmetics app. So I don't know if you guys have seen this, but there's a lot of people that are promoting these cosmetic cruelty-free brands offhand. I can't name a bunch of them, but I know that what's her name? Oh my god. I hate calling people by their character names. Ivana Lynch? Yes. Ivana Lynch from Harry Potter, who I talked about in the last episode. She's got her own vegan podcast, the Chick Peeps. She's co-founded a cruelty-free makeup line. She is Luna Lovegood from the Harry Potter films. But if you can, a lot of women who wear the majority of beauty cosmetics, look into the cruelty-free versions. The more that we can get people just starting there, the animal testing, it's just another terrible dark secret of the world, the way that they have to test on animals to see if these things are just regulated. Not that testing on human beings is the solution, but there are, you can see it with these companies who do the cruelty-free versions and they don't test on animals. So support these products, support these manufacturers, and just, continue the slow step towards an animal cruelty-free world. And I know this wasn't a conversation of like the health benefits for yourself, but veganism for me is not just about the health. That is a huge part about it for me, but this episode was not. So great. I don't know how long this was because I can never read the camera from this far away. I probably need glasses. But I'm going to move over to the plant-based plate portion. So I'm going to do one of these magical genie Houdini snaps because I'm going to cut it. I'm going to make this thing because I'm by myself today. And we're going to have a plant-based plate. So stay tuned. And we're back. So today's plant-based plate, super, super simple. Something that I have every single day is my smoothie. Now, this thing I've been wanting to make this, and it's one of my favorite things to have every day. It's extremely good for you. As a vegan, this has pretty much saved me in terms of like my nutritional daily required vitamins and nutrients. Everything's pretty much packed into here. What I need in terms of like other vitamins, in terms of my B's and D's, I'm getting all that here, and it tastes really good. So I'll break this down. First, let me have a sip here. This I pretty much ballpark now the like ingredient sizes. God, I haven't eaten today. I'm starving. And I have to run to an audition, so I'm going to try and slurp this baby down. Oh, God, it's so good. So, this right here, I put 1.5 frozen bananas. I put spirulina, which I didn't today because we ran out, and I'll break down each one of these things in a second. Spirulina, chlorella, cinnamon, peanut butter, hemp protein from Nutivia, which is a great, very simple, straightforward protein like powder you can put in there. Chia seeds. I got wild blueberries in here. Sometimes I'll put raspberries. I have 1 date. And what else am I missing? Spinach, the main ingredient here. Some spinach. So why is this so good for you? Number one, you're pretty much getting everything you could need and imagine in one little freaking magical potion right here. This is like the Zelda. This would be like a full heart, full stamina, full health superpower potion if this was in Zelda. All right. Chlorella is good for you. I mean, all of these things pretty much have omega-3s or omega-6s in there. It's, antioxidants. Most of these have B12, and I use coconut milk. So that also has B and D and all these. It's fortified with all these amazing things, and it's not dairy milk, and it tastes great. It helps with inflammatory cholesterol. It's got fiber in there, so your poop's going to slide out like a wonderful slip and slide. The one thing about being a vegan is you will not have long visits to the bathroom. That is for sure. The date I use pretty much for flavor and for fiber. It's got the good sugars in it. Wild blueberries, I'm not actually quite sure. Allie just hit me up to wild blueberries. I don't know why they're better than regular blueberries is mainly the point. Maybe they just go crazy when you try and pick them. The banana again, it's fiber and protein and potassium. There's just so many good things in here, and so many people are concerned about their B's. I think B1, 2, and 3 is all in spirulina, and I'm pretty sure B12 is in the chlorella. The chia seeds again, another source of omega-3s and omega-6s. A lot of people are concerned about that because they don't want to, they can't have fish oil or anything like that, or, they're not eating fish. So this is a great way to get all of those nutrients that you wouldn't normally have. And there's tons of other like amazing properties that a majority of these ingredients have. They say they're cancer preventing, obviously reduce like blood pressure. There's just so many wonderful things about this. I have it after the gym. Usually it's my first meal for my intermittent fast that I have at 12:30 or 1 o'clock. Today it's 2:40 because I got to run in a second to get this audition, and then I have a meeting. But super simple. I'll put the recipe below it. I recommend it to anyone who is trying to figure out a way to get that protein that we all think we need so badly, which the spinach and the hemp protein in here, the banana, the chlorella, all contain protein. You get pretty much, I think, 45 from one of these drinks a day. So that's your daily recommended for a 2,000 calorie diet. I'm almost positive. Don't quote me on that. So yeah, try it out. That's my own recipe right there. Bang. Thank you guys for sticking around. This is a quick one. Why to stop buying Canada Goose? Stop buying Canada Goose. Canada Goose is the devil. But let's spread the good word. Get people to stop wearing it. Contact your local celebrity on Twitter today. All right, guys. Thank you so much for sticking around. Next week, I'm fairly sure. I don't know. I think it's the chocolate vegan will be on next. Make sure to subscribe. StokedOnPlants.com. Follow me on Instagram. Paul Castro Jr. That's Junior. Love you guys, and see you on the next one.